You're listening to the Archaeology Podcast Network.
Welcome to Screens of the Stone Age, the podcast where scientists review movies about prehistoric people. I'm Dr. Joshua Lindahl. I study Neanderthals. I forgot how I do my intro. What do I say? I'm Dr. Joshua Lindahl. I'm a paleoanthropologist studying Neanderthals.
And I'm
here with...
I'm Dr. Kimberly Fong. I am a bioarchaeologist. I study the human skeleton, health and disease, and evolution.
And I'm Dr. Ross Barnett, a sort of paleogeneticist interested in all things extinct.
How a sort of? You are a paleogeneticist.
Yeah, but, now I spend my time sitting in a museum telling folks about Inverness, so...
Wow. No one can take your PhD and your papers and your research projects and your Mary Curie fellowship and all that stuff away from you.
Yeah, I've got to pry it out of my cold, dead hands.
Well, today we are reviewing a movie called Luggage of the Gods from 1983. I have a feeling we're going to be playing Caveman Movie Bingo on this one. But at the same time, I don't feel like we're going to have that much to say about real cave people because this is set in the present day. This is a holdover of cave people living in the present day, in the middle of America. Bingo. Who wants to summarize this movie for us?
I mean, I can. I'm looking at Kim and seeing that she doesn't look like she wants to. So
I really enjoyed this.
Step on that.
I really enjoyed this movie, and I can do it. But I'll sum it up in like 5 minutes or 2 minutes, and Ross will just do a better job.
Well, I'll be more long-winded for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Luggage of the Gods starts with a voiceover. And it's really not particularly clear what's going on, but the voiceover guy talks about how they're primitive but not unhappy. They're a lost tribe. It doesn't really ever explain why they're a lost tribe or what has cut them off, but yeah, whatever. They are sort of hunter-gatherers. They gather food, superstitious. They speak in kind of caveman primitive syntax, and they have 1 and 2 syllable names. So we meet Yuck, Tull, and Hubba, who seem to be the 3 main protagonists. There's also a kind of bully, a jock, who's like super muscly and is a good hunter. But the only thing any of these hunter gatherers seem to hunt is rabbits. And that has to the big muscly hunter catches 1 rabbit, and that has to feed like a whole tribe of people somehow. Anyway, so we're not so concerned with the jock. He's just like the bully of the film. But we are concerned with Yuck, who seems to be a bit of an artist. He does cave art outside of the cave, which is quite interesting. It made me think how much of our kind of spectrum of cave art, which is usually from deep within inside caves, how much of that is a sort of taphonomic bias? Like how much of the kind of everyday surfaces that people would have interacted with in the Paleolithic would have had art on them as well. It's just been washed off or scrubbed off or, just flaked off in the thousands of years. I mean, in the Americas, they've got petroglyphs, which are slightly harder wearing. And so there are some that we know are kind of Pleistocene in age. But yeah, anyway, that's about the only part of the film that made me think.
Well, I don't know if you read the YouTube comments, but according to a few people in the YouTube comments, these paintings are still there. They filmed this at like several parks in New York.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we're trusting YouTube comments here. I can't find too much actually written about this movie, but somebody said that people regularly stumble upon these paintings in this park in New York and think they're looking at genuine, like, indigenous American paintings.
Oh my God. I mean,
and another comment confirmed, I was just at this park last year and I saw them myself. So
that's
it seems
amazing.
Like it's possible they're still there. I don't know how. I don't know what they're painted out of, but...
Oh, that's so cool. I mean, there's definitely a project about the archaeology of film sets, for sure.
Like the Star Wars set in Tunisia?
Yeah. Is it Cleopatra or some Cecil B. DeMille ancient Egyptian silent film that had a massive set in the California desert, and they just sort of buried it when they were finished. Who cares?
Really?
So like, there's a whole ancient Egypt underneath the kind of California desert.
Oh, it's going to be super confusing to future archaeologists.
Totally, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Yuka's the artist. He does commissions, it seems. So he's like busy painting the jock character with his hunted rabbit and his friend that hunted it. And I didn't at any point kind of fully grasp what the cave person language for rabbit was. They said it a lot of times, but I didn't actually understand what they were saying.
I think it's Veka or Beka.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, the jock caveman is not happy with the size of the Vega. It's something that's kind of familiar to anyone that's been fishing. He wants it to be recorded as bigger than it was. And so Yuka is not happy, but he does that. And then we get an insight into their kind of belief system. So, and also kind of confirmation that this is taking place in the present day or the 80s. So ancient history. They see an airplane flying overhead, and this airplane causes them to kind of go into a panic. They all kind of prostrate themselves on the ground, a bit like in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Balak holds up the Mesoamerican artifact, and I can't remember what the group are called, the Javaro or whatever they're called in the movie, all kind of avert their eyes, a bit like that. So obviously they recognize that there's airplanes and see them as some kind of bad luck, god or something. Anyway, and then we meet Hubba, who is the sort of token cave girl, who is the love interest of Yuck. And it seems fairly obvious early on that Hubba actually likes Yuck, which is nice.
Yeah.
So from the start, they seem to have a mutual attraction to each other, and there's no coercion or anything, which is great.
Yes. Refreshing.
They go and find nuts and berries together. Yuck shows that he's an inventor. He's invented a retractable spear for rabbit hunting, which is a
bingo.
Yeah, which is a spear with a string on the end. But Hubba's impressed, but then the bully jock caveman turns up, steals his invention and throws it away. And then we see the plane again, and then everyone kind of gets down on the ground except for Yuck, who looks up. So we see that he's a bit of a rebel. He doesn't play by the rules. He's his own man. And then it cuts to the plane. So the plane has like some 80s stock business people who are chatting about important money things. And we discover that one of them has $2 million worth of paintings, which are forgeries, in the hold. And he's looking to sell them for lots and lots of money in a very 80s way. But then a fire starts in the hold, and so they have to jettison all the cabin baggage that's in the hold, including their expensive forged paintings. And so at this point, Yuck sees the cargo fall to Earth. I don't think any of the other cave people do, because obviously they're averting their eyes, and Yuck's the only one brave enough to look. And he finds a bag, and takes it back to camp and opens it, finds clothes, finds a hat with fruit on it, which is very dashing. But Yuck takes off one of the bits of fruit from the hat and gives it to the leader of the tribe. He eats it, but it's made out of wax. It's a pretend bit of fruit. And this is enough to get Yuck banished, which again is Caveman Bingo, banished from the tribe. And then his friend Tull, so Tull was like the other main protagonist, who's a friend of Yuck's. He also sort of sticks up for Yuck, and then he gets banished too. And then they put the luggage on the fire, and Hub is sad because now Yuck and Tull have been banished from the tribe, and so they
bingo.
Yeah. Yep. So they wander off, and then another Caveman Bingo, just wandering aimlessly, just with no direction. But then they find more luggage from the airplane, which is great. And they sort of start just exploring it, and they find an alarm clock which goes off and frightens them. They find lots of cupcakes, which they eat and enjoy. It starts to rain, and then they activate like a life raft. I don't know if that's water activated. It might be. I think the ones in airplane might be. And so that kind of opens up, and they turn all this stuff into like their own cave. So they're living like kings on all the kind of dregs that they've found in this abandoned luggage. They managed to turn on the radio, although it looks like a plug-in radio, but maybe it's got batteries. And it turns on to the Foundation's "Build Me Up, Buttercup," which is a great tune.
Classic.
And I'm impressed that they managed to get copyright clearance to use that. And then we get another classic caveman trope. So they somehow open up some cargo and find a wheelbarrow. And Yuck is kind of obsessed with the wheel. He's kind of intrigued by the wheel. They've not seen it before.
Kind of a bingo? He didn't invent the wheel, but he's discovered it for the first time.
But the bingo part is when they they get the idea to put all sorts of stuff in the wheelbarrow, and you think, oh yeah, cool, they're going to use the wheelbarrow and it's going to make their lives much easier. But they put everything in the wheelbarrow and then lift it up. So they've accidentally found the wheel and not figured out how to use it.
I think we saw something just like this in a Budweiser commercial. Where, what did they do? They invented something to help carry the Bud Light to the party.
The wheel, but then they use it to carry it.
And then they carried it like a tray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they invent the wheel and use it as a pole for pole dancing. And then we get more kind of Yuka and Tool exploring the luggage, dressing in 80s clothes. There's a nice little scene where Tool uses a suitcase as a trap for rabbits. So he just opens up the lid and puts a stick underneath it, a kind of classic trap. And so the stick has a bit of string attached to it, and he waits for this clearly somebody's pet rabbit that's just sitting there very happily, kind of hopping about, nibbling grass, waiting for it to go into the luggage. And then when he pulls the stick, the lid flaps down and he takes it away. So he's caught rabbits using a suitcase, which is pretty cool. And then sort of cuts away from Yuck and Toll, and so back at the tribe in their cave, life goes on as usual. No one seems to care that Yuck and Toll have gone. Toll and Yuck are still back at their new site with the luggage, drinking Coke and eating all sorts of food. They have a food fight. Yuck finds something which I've never seen before. It's like a Viewmaster, except for film. It's like a little.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. There's a little tiny film strip inside of a little handheld device, and he watched like a 10-second film clip inside of it. It was interesting.
It's like something from almost the Victorian era, where they would have these sort of penny slot things that you could put a penny in and watch like a short film.
How expensive that would have been at the time to have like a portable one like that. Yeah.
So, I mean, Yuck looks through this and it's like two people kissing. So maybe kissing doesn't exist in his tribe.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it kind of encourages Yuck to go back to get Hubba. So he goes back and gives her a necklace made from things from the cargo and almost gets caught by the rest of the tribe. But then a helicopter appears, and the helicopter has the two passengers we met on the plane, the forger and his accomplice, and they're looking for their luggage because it's worth a lot of money to them. They find Yuck and Tull, and Yuck and Tull sing "Build Me Up, Buttercup" in harmony to these guys as their way of kind of trying to interact with them and communicate with them.
Genuinely hilarious.
That was pretty good.
They walk up tentatively to each other and like, what's going to happen? And then Yuck starts, and he's singing it phonetically because he doesn't know English, but he's memorized the song phonetically. And then Tull jumps in at the perfect comedic moment with the backup vocals too. It's just hilarious.
It's so good.
That was pretty good. What it reminded me of, and this is not a reference that anyone outside of the UK will get, but it reminded me of Vic Reeves's club singing round from Shooting Stars, which I will send a link to Josh and Kim to enjoy. But it's very much of that style. And so that sort of gets them interacting. Yuck has already painted some pictures about the story of their tribe and finding the cargo. And the two 80s plane passengers are kind of interrogating Yuck and Tull about where's the crate and trying to get that meaning to them. They take them to where the luggage is mostly spilled, but the crate with the paintings isn't there. In the meantime, Hubba is stealing food, I think is what she's doing, from the rest of the tribe. Mm-hmm. She's planning her escape to go and meet up with Yuck and Tull, but she gets caught stealing food, and then bingo, she gets banished as well. But just as she's been banished, the 80s guys appear, and they've got a gun, which they fire, and they capture Hubba. So there's like a tense hostage situation. But Yuck and Tull kind of sneak up while this is going on.
They've heard the gunshot, so they obviously haven't wandered too far.
Yeah.
They're within earshot of a gun.
Yeah. But they find the crate, so it was just hidden in a dung heap or something. And they fight with the 80s plane passengers. Yuck gets the gun, fights them off. They kind of don't think that Yuck will know how to use the gun because he's holding it upside down. But even holding it upside down, he manages to fire it.
He's got his thumb through the trigger.
And yeah, Yuck's the hero, and he kind of unites with Hubba, and they kiss just like in the movie that he found. And yeah, so then kind of the 80s guys disappear, and the tribe goes back sort of to how things were, except now they're using all the modern stuff that they found in the luggage in their kind of cave people life. So there's a little montage of them using an umbrella as a poker for their fire and to kind of move the meat that they're cooking around the embers. They're using a bowling ball as a sort of primitive quern, like to crush cereals and stuff. And while Yuck and Hubba are happy together in a monogamous pairing, Tull seems to have his own little harem now, where he sits on a deck chair and has women feed him food. And they ask him to tell the story of the crate, which he does with relish. And then I think the kind of final kind of coda is they spot another plane. So they must realize that there's other people out there. And they have a new ceremony, which is them dancing around a fire, singing "Build Me Up, Buttercup."
So good.
Yeah, with drums and luggage from the cargo. And then Hubba looks for Yuck, who is about to kind of depart the valley that they've lived in for thousands of years to find the modern civilization. Hubba kind of goes and asks Tull for help. And then Yuck and Hubba and Tull decide to all go off and find civilization. And there's a little voiceover at the end. And that wraps everything up neatly with absolutely no plot holes whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I really loved when the two guys were off on their own and the modern guys came and they like offered them a beer from the cooler, and like it was just so good.
So we have like one main joke in this movie, which is cave people using modern day objects, trying to figure out how to do it, using them incorrectly, which is, it works most of the time, I think.
Or correctly, like the cooler and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Whichever is comedically appropriate.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good physical comedy, like especially that the lead actor playing Yuck, he's great in like the way he's holding the gun with his thumb through the trigger. I think genuinely there's a lot of good in this movie. It's not an amazing movie, but it's obviously very low budget. Mm-hmm. But I'm happy that we all liked it because I did think it was quite funny at times.
I enjoyed it. So when I first put it on and I saw it, like it started up, I was like, oh God, like we've seen this movie a million times. It's going to be like so boring. And then it started and it just went in a different direction. It was like there's a lot of Caveman Bingo, but it was a different story than we've seen before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't offended at any point, which is unusual for me too. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, for an early 80s film, it was surprisingly unproblematic.
There was no sexual assault or anything like that.
Mm.
Well, we hit a few bingo tropes through the summary. I wonder if there's anything else we can note. Would you say Hubba is blonde? She's certainly lighter haired than everybody else.
Yeah.
Got a lot of 80s perms in this one too.
She reminds me of a young Jennifer Grey. I thought she looked a lot like Jennifer Grey from like Dirty Dancing era.
Yeah, yeah. Similar nose type and facial structure. She's a light brown hair, I'd guess. Any lighter and she would be blonde, but I don't think she's blonde.
And the only curly-haired person, I think.
Which helped her stick out too, which is good.
And interestingly, they dressed her in furs, but they didn't make them revealing. So that was also refreshing.
They also had them the proper way with the fur on the inside.
Yes, I did notice that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good. Fur on the inside, folk.
Of course, we have cave people in America. That's not something that ever existed. The only people who ever made it to the Americas were the first people who made it to the Americas during the Pleistocene were the ancestors of modern indigenous Americans. So we see cave people, white cave people in the Americas. Well, I mean, are these people supposed to be some other species, or are they just Paleolithic modern humans? You know, they don't really make them look that different.
Yeah, there's no prosthetics or anything.
Furs.
No, I think they're just a group that survived without meeting another modern group, and then just kept going with what they knew. If it ain't broke.
One thing I like about this movie is that it knows its premise is ridiculous and it doesn't try to over-explain it. We do get an explanation for how there can be a lost tribe of cave people in the middle of America. When the plane is flying overhead, the captain comes on the PA and announces to the passengers, I wrote down the whole thing, this is what the captain says. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Dawson once again with a message of interest. You may have noticed that we haven't passed a city for quite a while. We're flying over the largest undeveloped region of America, and we understand that much of this area has yet to be explored.
Wow.
And I love that this is underneath a little bit of dialogue from the passengers, so it's like a little bit buried. I had to listen a couple of times to get all those words. So it's like, it's a little bit subtle, but also kind of like kicking you in the face at the same time. And then to explain how we get the luggage falling from the plane, as you said, there's a fire in the cargo bay. This is what the captain comes on the PA again. This is Captain Dawson again with a special announcement. There's been a slight problem in our cargo compartment. There's no need to worry. However, in the interest of passenger safety, we're going to have to jettison your luggage.
I wouldn't even know what to say if that happened.
Everyone seems remarkably calm.
I know. Yeah. How does that put the fire out? Like, it doesn't.
I guess the luggage was on fire, so it dumps the fire out. Maybe they open up the cargo bay and the air pressure change
that can do
reduces the oxygen.
Yeah. Oh, that would just be such a bummer, especially, like, obviously the guy that had the expensive fake paintings, right? But I mean, that the lady lost her fruit hat too.
But here's another question I was wondering about, because they are counterfeit paintings, so the value will be in selling them as real paintings. But why, if they're counterfeit, just make new counterfeits? I mean, I know it's going to be hard to make a whole painting, it'll take some time, but if you can counterfeit a painting, just counterfeit some more paintings. Like, wouldn't it be more important if they were real valuable paintings? Because then they're one of a kind, and then you have to get them back. You can't just paint new ones, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't even seem like so when they came out of the woods to find where it was, they were still in the same suits they were wearing on the plane. They had no gear with them or anything. So I'm guessing that wherever this is not that far from civilization, right? Like, they were just like patting themselves like with a bit of sweat on their brow. So like they could have just walked 20 minutes from the nearest hotel, and they're like, well, let's just go find it.
No, they couldn't, because specifically they parked the helicopter, and apparently they must be flying it because they don't have a pilot with them. And he says, is the helicopter going to be okay here? Is it going to be okay if we just leave the helicopter here? And the guy says, like, we've been flying for 7 hours and we haven't seen any signs of civilization. It's going to be fine. So there's 7 hours by helicopter away from the nearest town.
Wow.
And of course, they're both helicopter pilots too, because they flew the helicopter.
I think the reason it's forgeries is to make us not like these guys, because if they're just like legit
it makes
art dealers,
then you'd be like, oh, they need to go save the art. Yeah.
But it could be stolen and they're smuggling it, right?
It also makes you wonder about the kind of proficiency of the early TSA, that they didn't notice £2 million worth of faked art in their cargo.
I don't think there was a TSA.
They weren't really proficient. I think you get anything on a plane back in the day.
Well, you got a gun as well, clearly.
Well, I don't know if we can really say too much else about these cave people, because they're present day cave people in the middle of America. There's we can't criticize the historical accuracy of it. What else can we talk about?
They have language, which is good.
Yeah.
Right. And this is coming out shortly after Ringo Starr's Caveman movie in 1981, where they also have this very rudimentary, like, single word language where throughout the movie you hear the words over and over and you can learn their language. And they do the same thing here, and they do it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it actually works really well in this movie in particular, because we see it a lot, and sometimes it's like, it feels really awkward to be listening to single words here and there. But I think this one works really well because this one's really all about the physical comedy and like storytelling through actions. And so, yeah, we do have this single word language, but I think it works pretty well. How many of the words in the language did you learn?
0, I think. Crate.
They do adopt the loan word crate later in the movie, so that's good. We have Veka, I think, or Beka for rabbit.
Yeah.
Ugluk is airplane, I think.
All right.
Here's one they say a lot. I didn't understand it at first. Bagzoa, which they said Bagzoa at first when Yuck looked at the airplane. So I thought they were saying Bagzoa Yuck. I thought they were saying that Yuck looked at the airplane. But then I think they were saying Bagzoa, get out of here. Because later on at the end, the three main characters go Bagzoa to travel. So I think Bagzoa is to travel or to leave the tribe somehow. I'm not exactly sure what that means. We also have Buh. Buh is no. Figured that one out.
Yeah.
And they also say tough. Tough is either food or specifically fruits and vegetables. Because they're we've got the man the hunter, woman the gatherer at play here, because the men are always hunting the rabbits, the big tough men are hunting the big tough rabbits, and the women are always digging up something and processing something. And I didn't get a good look all the time, but when Hubba was packing up to go find Yuck and Tull, she's packing up beets, so I think they're probably digging up beets. But also when Yuck finds the fruit hat, he refers to that fruit as tough as well. So tough is either food in general or fruits and vegetables, I think. I think that's most of the words I got. There were a few more, but those are the ones I could figure out.
It'd be kind of fun to choose these words when you're writing the script. And
I thought that the actors sort of voiced the words in a way that sounded sort of natural. I mean, despite the fact they have no grammar and they're mostly using 1 and 2 words at a time, they almost kind of sounded like they had their own caveman accent to this language. You know, it didn't just sound like American accents saying nonsense words.
It wasn't there, because sometimes the use is kind of jarring because the movie's trying to make a point that they're using just monosyllable words or something, and so it's kind of jarring the way that the actors deliver it. But this one, I didn't really notice that.
There's a video game that I'm trying to figure out how to show you guys so that we can review it, called Far Cry Primal. I might have mentioned this one, but it's, Far Cry is a first-person shooter style of video games where you run around with guns and stuff. But they have one game in the series where we go back 10,000 years ago, and we have 3 competing tribes of people in Central Europe, and the entire game is in 3 reconstructed dialects of Proto-Indo-European or pre-Proto-Indo-European, and like all of the dialogue in the game is in this fictional language, and it's like a pretty full fleshed out language. Everything has English subtitles, right? And it sounds very good and natural. Like, it's a huge game. It took me and Aurora 60 hours to finish the main quest of this game.
Wow.
So tons and tons of dialogue, and we were learning some of these Proto-Indo-European words as we were playing the game because we're hearing them over and over. But there's one character who he has a bunch of side quests that are just for comic relief, and he speaks in an American accent, but in Proto-Indo-European, and he's a goofy guy he's trying to invent things, but he's always getting himself hurt. Like he tries to invent wings to fly off a cliff, and he falls in a pile of hay and hurts himself. And so very clearly they have this. The game feels very realistic and natural with this reconstructed language, but we have this one character speaking this reconstructed language in a thick Southern American accent.
Wow.
For comic relief, which it kind of pulls you out of the game a little bit, but it's kind of funny.
We could talk about out-of-place animals a little bit.
Okay.
So we only see one animal in this whole film, and it's this very well-trained rabbit, which it may be the same individual that's hunted at the beginning by the bullies and is also trapped in the suitcase by Tull later on. But I'm fairly sure it is a domestic rabbit. So domestic rabbits are descendants of the common rabbit, which is a strictly Iberian species. It's only found in the wild in Spain and Portugal. Eryctolagus cuniculus. So it's a lagomorph, which is the kind of hares, pikas, and rabbits. But weirdly, North America has quite a few lagomorphs in it. It's got cottontails and other kind of jackrabbits and things like that. So, yeah, I'm sort of confused. It doesn't make strict biogeographical sense, but it's not like outrageous. It's not like having a hornbill in the Americas or something like that. There's at least members of the same family that are found there, and they look similar enough that, I don't know, I can tell the difference between all the kind of variety of genera of lagomorphs particularly well.
The only thing I know, so Edmonton has a lot of rabbits, like wild rabbits, and so the main thing is that like most wild animals, they're like lean and muscular, right? Whereas this one was a chubby fuzzball. So I think he lived a pretty easy, spoiled life style.
Yeah. He also wasn't much of an actor. It took him quite a lot of direction to get him to go into the suitcase.
We have lots of probably the same kind of rabbits Edmonton has here in Winnipeg, and the ones in my yard are pretty well fed because they sit under the bird feeder and eat all the sunflower seeds.
Oh, nice.
At least they're not eating all your garden.
Yeah, I've wrapped all of our shrubs in chicken wires because they like to chew down the tips of the shrubs that stick out above the snow in the winter. The thing about the rabbit in the movie is it's got this coat pattern, which I believe is a domesticated coat pattern.
Yeah.
Is there a name for this pattern where it's like white, and this one is white and gray, and it's like big splotchy spots?
Yeah, it was like Jasper, right? And that's what you see with the domesticated rats too, is you don't really see that pattern in wild rats.
There will be a name for it, but you'd have to be like a rabbit breeder or something to know what it is.
I think the term is piebald.
What? They could have done something cuter than that.
If I'm pronouncing it correctly, Piebald, or pied. A pattern of unpigmented spots, white, on a pigmented background of hair, feathers, or scales.
Okay.
Well, one thing we can talk about with this movie is where it draws its inspiration from, because it is very, very commonly said that this movie is heavily inspired by a movie called The Gods Must Be Crazy, which was produced in 1980, I believe. Have any of us seen this movie?
No, never heard of it.
No.
Never heard of it?
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
It's on my watch list on Netflix or Disney Plus or something, so I've been meaning to watch it for a long time, but I only have time to watch goddamn Caveman movies for the past 5 years.
I know, me too.
It's not a caveman movie, but it is a co-production between South Africa and Botswana, I believe, which is interesting. We don't get a lot of South African movies, at least not before D. Antwoord started making all their movies. But how many? They've only made 2 movies, I think, as far as I know. But that's the main thing I know South Africa for lately. But this movie is it starts off with a group of San hunter-gatherers who have no contact with civilization. And a plane flies overhead, and the pilot throws a Coke bottle out the window. And it lands in this group, and they believe it must be a gift from the god. And so they use it in a whole bunch of creative ways, you know, as a water bottle, but also as like a rolling pin. Again, I haven't seen the movie. I've only read a synopsis of it, right? But then people start to fight over this because they only have one of them. So this one guy decides, this isn't good for us anymore. I'm going to return this bottle to the gods. I'm going to return this gift back to the gods. So he goes, you know, on a quest to the edge of their known world to find the gods and return this bottle. And, you know, they get tied up in like guerrilla warriors and a biologist, and all kinds of people get involved. And so it's about these uncontacted peoples, you know, believing that something that fell out of an airplane came from God, and they come into contact with these peoples, right? So obviously there's a lot of similarities here, but as I think it was a YouTube comment pointed out, that movie came out in 1980. This one came out in 1983, but The Gods Must Be Crazy didn't receive international popularity until 1984. Most Americans had never heard of it until 1984. So it's hard to tell if this movie was directly inspired by The Gods Must Be Crazy, although I guess the people making it are filmmakers, so they're probably more likely to have heard of more obscure foreign films than the average person in America would be.
Isn't there also a story to do with Prince Philip?
Oh yeah, cargo cults. That's the other thing that I wanted to talk about here. What do we know about cargo cults?
All I know is that Prince Philip, they thought he was a god because he showed up in an airplane, right? There was some whooping. I don't remember really.
It's somewhere in, is it somewhere in Papua or South Pacific anyway? But yeah, what I love about cargo cults is the kind of anthropology of it. So also, you know, they meet. It's a trope that you've sort of seen in sort of Star Wars and other things where somebody gets mistaken for a god and then uses that knowledge. With the cargo cults, what I like is that they had this crazy interaction outside of their kind of normal everyday experience, and because the kind of retinue of Philip brought food and stuff, they spent a whole bunch of energy on making what they describe as kind of landing strips. And the mythology that built up is that if they build the right kind of landing strip, then Philip will return with lots of food and gifts and stuff. So it's like a proto-religion that's kind of sprung up. And it's really interesting when you see this happening in kind of in modern times. It kind of makes you think about, well, that the kind of interaction between different groups could have led to this in the past. That might be an explanation for things like, you know, Stonehenge or the Moai of Easter Island, or like where you have contact between groups with different material culture, and that leading to a sort of mythology springing up.
Yeah, it's true.
The problematic aspect of the popular conception of cargo cults is something we've talked about before, where it sort of minimizes the culture and the abilities of non-Western peoples. And basically the stereotype is like, oh, they're so stupid and primitive, they don't even understand what an airplane is. What? Right?
Why would they know though?
Well, yeah, but it's like, you know, so like you said, Ross, they make these landing strips. Sometimes I've seen pictures where they make airplanes out of like wood and straw and stuff, and then they perform rituals. So they do like military marching drills and they hold flags and stuff like that. And so it's like, yeah, they're too stupid to understand what these things are actually for. They think they're performing some sort of magic ritual, but it's not like that. And I think when we compare it to other cultures, we can see the sort of inherent human cultural logic to it. And maybe this is not the best comparison, but I am thinking about QAnon more recently, right? And we can see QAnon emerging like a new religious movement,
Mhm.
and it has a lot of the same things we can see in cargo cults or in a lot of any other new religious movement, right? So they sort of happen during times of social upheaval.
Mhm.
And so, of course, cargo cults start during World War II when, the United States and Japan and all these countries are moving into all these Southeast Asian islands and Polynesian islands because they want to be setting up airstrips so that they can control the Pacific. And so they see all these people coming in. It's disrupting their way of life. It's disrupting their worldview. And so you have, lots of existential questions, and you have, religious movements growing out of this to explain what's going on.
Mhm.
And so in the United States, we have the QAnon movement starting up. And one of the aspects of the cargo cults that is sort of common to a lot of them is a sort of apocalyptic aspect to it. Like the world is going to end, or there's going to be some major world-changing event, and then we're going to have a prophet come in and restore everything, and everything is going to be good after that.
Mhm.
And so QAnon is like that. QAnon is a mysterious figure who is essentially a prophet of a new religion who is providing information. And we have apocalyptic prophecy where we're going to have the storm where Donald Trump is going to go through and drain the swamp and arrest all of these world elites, and then everybody is going to be winning so much that they're going to get sick of winning afterwards, right?
Mhm.
And so it's not that the people are stupid and primitive, it's that they're making sense of the world based on the information that's available to them, and they're uncertain. They're going through uncertain social times, and so they're latching onto ideas that bring them comfort, which makes perfect sense anthropologically, right?
Which humans
Totally.
have done all the time throughout everything. And if aliens from another planet were to come down right now, we would do the exact same thing, right? Like even on Independence Day, that movie, they did that too, right? Where the aliens were coming, and so all the people went up to have the party at the top of the building, right? They were like
Yeah.
kind of a mini cult there starting.
It's a very human response, I think. Like
Mhm.
like you said, Josh. Whenever there is uncertainty, that just bypasses the logic centers in human
Mhm.
brains,
Mhm.
and we have to try and make sense of uncertainty with some kind of certainty. So it's a universal. I think it's just depends on the kind of information content that you have and what you've been exposed to.
Yeah.
So. And the danger comes when we start to think, oh yeah, we're better than that. So an example that sort of popped into my head while you guys were talking was that, everyone does this to some extent. Like I find that even when like a road crossing with traffic lights, if the button's already been pressed, I know that pressing it again doesn't make it happen any faster, but I
Yeah.
will press it again.
Yeah, just in case.
because because that kind of gives me some certainty that, well, at least I pressed it, and then it'll change. And yeah, it's like times of uncertainty when this happens, like World War II in Melanesia, the 60s and 70s, and kind of cultural revolution in the West. You have, or the Cold War as well. You have the kind of popping up of UFO cults and things like that. They can even draw a parallel with things like Heaven's Gate and kind of Jonestown and all these kind of recent weirdnesses. It kind of taps back into a very human reaction.
It's always also interesting how much overlap there is between religious movements and aliens and UFOs, because we can look at the title of this movie, Luggage of the Gods. I'm wondering how much of that is inspired by Eric von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods, right? Which, has remained popular for decades. But at the time this movie is made, that book is only 12 years old, right? So we have the beginnings of that ancient aliens, ancient astronaut hypothesis going on right at that time, right?
Yeah. But then also the gods must be crazy as well. That must be an influence too, I think.
Influenced by Chariots of the Gods.
Yeah.
So, it's this idea that, I don't remember who said it, any technology that is sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic, right? Whether that's a colonial technology or a literal alien technology.
Yeah, it's Arthur C. Clarke.
Well, I don't have too much more to say about this movie. I think we've said about all we can.
This would be one
I
of the
would
rare
agree.
ones that I would say that people should watch. It's funny. I liked it.
And free on YouTube.
And it's
Free on YouTube and an easy watch. It's a tight 75 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did not feel painful at all.
That is unusual.
It is, yeah.
I just wanted to point out in the cargo hold there is a case of Molson Canadian beer, and we also see it on the ground later. Somehow the bottles don't smash, and that's possibly the beer that they're offering
they're
to
drinking.
them when they arrive at the camp there.
Yeah.
And is that why they turn against each other? Because they've been offered Molson?
I don't know. I don't drink Molson Canadian. Like any good modern hipster, I mostly get my beer from the 2 local microbreweries that are in walking distance of my house.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. That's convenient.
Did these guys do any other films after this? I didn't check out IMDb, so I don't know if they've went on to illustrious careers or not.
This is one of these low-budget movies like we do where out of about 20 actors, 3 of them have a photo associated with their IMDb page, and the rest of them, the majority of people in this movie have been in 6 or fewer films, and some of them, quite a few of them, this is their only film.
Right.
They were pretty good actors, though. That's too bad.
Yeah, it's hard to find information, but I read, I think, possibly IMDb comments or somewhere that these were mostly stage actors, and I think there was a lot of like miming and clowning sort of experience among them, which I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
like if
the physical
you watch
comedy.
this, if you watch this movie thinking about it as a movie about miming and clowning, like there's one scene where somebody is actually miming. I think the meathead hunters are describing what they saw Yuck doing with his invented spear, and they're doing a very much a mime where they're like pulling on a spear and then falling over. So if you think about this as like miming and clowning and physical comedy, then it makes a lot of sense rather than thinking about it. But it is also a good story. Like the story is cohesive. It's not really rambling like we usually see in this style of movie. So
if it was going to be remade today, I would put the Charlie guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia as the lead.
Yes.
Right?
That would be great. What's his name? I can't remember the actor's name.
I don't know.
If you watch this on YouTube, if you go into the comments, some people on the production are in the comments. I think the one of the producers is in the comments. A lot of people who are watching it are talking about people they know who are in it. Somebody says that their film professor was the cinematographer, and so at least some people in the crew have gone on to have pretty good careers in film.
Cool.
It's hard to say because I don't know if IMDb doesn't do like stage plays or anything like that. So I think that a lot of these actors, even though they don't have a lot of film credits under their belt, I think probably a lot of them are doing like stage acting.
We should put a link of this episode on the comments of the movie and get them to listen.
Because we are unusually nice about it to them.
I know. Normally I'd be like, uh-oh.
Do you have questions, comments, or movie requests? We want to hear from you. Find us on Blue Sky and Facebook at SOTSA Podcast. Send us an email to screensofthestoneage@gmail.com or visit our website at screensofthestoneage.com.
This has been a presentation of the Archaeology Podcast Network. Visit us on the web for show notes and other podcasts at www.archpodnet.com. Contact us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com.